The word craftsmanship is often synonymous with luxury, and exceptional know-how is a prerequisite of luxury goods. It is the soul of the product. It is what makes luxury good so unique and desirable. And this is the theme of today's episode of What the Luxe. You're watching What the Luxe, the show that analyzes the latest trends in digital luxury and that share with you the campaigns and strategies that will make you think, what the Luxe? I'm David Klingbeil, and thanks for watching. In today's episode of What the Luxe, I'm delighted to be interviewing Remi Martini, a talented entrepreneur who's had an amazing idea. Remi knows a lot about luxury craftsmanship. His company, Artemio, has created an amazing leather good production workshop in Mexico City, working with top-of-the-crop craftsmen who've honed their skills with brands such as Cartier, Victorinox, or Saint Laurent. Artemio has decades of experience in the production of luxury leather goods and accessories. They are designing and crafting amazing fashion accessories for luxury and lifestyle brands all across the world. But what's really unique about Artemio is that they've launched a fascinating project called Artemio Studio. Artemio Studio is a fashion product studio that combines the beauty of luxury craftsmanship with the power of digital influencers and creators. More specifically, Artemio works with influencers and digital talent and help them to create their very own fashion brands. The brands Artemio has launched are truly exquisite. They bring together the best of design, savoir-faire, and creativity. As you know, influencers are such a hot topic in luxury right now. Luxury consumers follow influencers religiously, and luxury brands would love to work with them in a better way. This is why I wanted to interview Remi and get his point of view on luxury and influencers. This interview is a goldmine of knowledge and insight, and you don't want to miss it. There's a lot to cover, so let's jump right into it. Hi Remi, and welcome to What the Luxe. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I'm super happy to have you as a guest today because I think you're doing something extremely interesting. And not only what you're doing is interesting to me, but I think it's also going to be interesting to all the listeners of and the readers of What the Luxe, because you are working in between two very interesting industries that are, on the one hand, the luxury and fashion industries, and on the other hand, the world of influencers and creators. And I'd like to learn a bit more about your story, what you're doing with your company, Artemio. And first, can you tell us a little more about the genesis, the origin of your story? Because Remi, you've always been working with luxury and beauty brands. You've had a few successful adventures in entrepreneurship and in the corporate world as well. And I want to know, how did you become the head of a leather good production factory and a fashion product studio today?
Well, thank you, David, first for receiving me. I'm a fan of What the Luxe, and I'm glad I have the opportunity to share my experience with your readers. So in a few words, after business school, and actually during business school, I started my entrepreneurship path with a company called Dandy Box. Everything started with a blog. Actually, it's not Dandy Box. We first launched a blog called Dandy Blog. The idea was to have this kind of old a WordPress where we were talking about the modern dandy. And a few weeks after, we had a pretty decent audience, and we moved. We wanted to move from a digital content to a real content. And basically the idea was, instead of reading a blog post, you could also discover new product and new trends, receiving a beautiful box in your place. So that was my first experience. It lasted 6 years, and I think it was a great way to learn about a lot of things, a lot about luxury, a lot about fashion, learn also about what could be a decent and scalable business model and what won't be scalable anyway, even though we would try to do so. I had a chance to publish a book in 2014 with Hachette. It was called Le Guide de l'Homme de Good, this guide of the modern dandy. That was a lovely experience. And I think I would always remember my mother seeing the book for the first time. I'm not sure she read it. She read it completely, but she was very, very happy to see it. And then I moved back to the industry. I wanted to learn more about international marketing and cosmetics and luxury. I started with L'Oreal, then I moved with Coty. I had a chance to work in the US, in Brazil, in Italy, and in Mexico. And after some parentheses, because after Coty, I wanted to sell my soul to the pharmaceutical world, which was interesting, but that was just for some times. I went back to the luxury, and I finally wanted to go back to fashion and to craftsmanship, because I do believe that there is no luxury, there is no experience, but also if there is not a very beautiful product. And when you work in cosmetics, sometimes there is a separation between what you sell that might be very beautiful, but the reality of the product might not be as luxurious, as ethical, as qualitative as you would expect, or as you would try to sell to your consumers.
Wait,
and
what do you mean, Remi? Do you mean some luxury brands are actually producing their products in China, or what do you mean by that?
Sometimes, we are in a world where margin, especially in this industry, is key. And obviously, with all of the investment we had to put in marketing, sometimes I think there is, to be not transparent, but to be fairly honest, there is maybe too much emphasis on the marketing side, which is very, very high end, but not on the quality of the product. And maybe more into cosmetics sometimes. But it can happen in fashion as well, even though I do think that today, and we can see with the success of a brand of Bottega Veneta, for example, which is booming right now, the new Balenciaga might be Bottega. I do think that people in the post-pandemic world will be more and more into beautiful product, amazing marketing, but also like quality and lastingness.
That's true. And I think that what's interesting with what you were doing at Artemio is that you are going, to the root of luxury, to the core of the luxury experience, which is savoir-faire, know-how, craftsmanship. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing at Artemio and, this beautiful craftsmanship, atelier that you've created, and let us know a bit more about what you are doing here.
So Artemio actually, it's a leather good manufacturing company. I didn't create Artemio because Artemio was created. The manufacturing company was created by Cartier in '78 in Mexico City. We used to produce almost the majority of Cartier leather goods. Starting 1985, we also produced all of the small leather goods for YSL. And but in the years 2000, most of the luxury brands, also because of the move to euros from the franc, prices increased a lot, and some consumers wanted the made in Italy, the made in France. So it's true that some of those overseas manufacturing company lost some of our big clients. So starting the year 2006, 2010, the current manufacturing company moved to be a manufacturer for a lot of luxury brands. And we are, everything. We really are a group of artisans. We used to be a pretty big company. In the years of Cartier, we had 500 artisans. Today, we have more 50 people. But those people have been working there for more than 30 years on average. And definitely it's going back to the roots of the luxury world and luxury goods. Everything is handmade, everything is painted, and everything go through, a very long process where usually in average we need from 400 minutes to up to 800 or 1,000 minutes to create a product. So we are, and basically what happened in my case, why I moved to Artemio and we with my partners decided to reinvent the concept. Well, because of COVID, actually, the company was doing pretty decently. We were manufacturing for a lot of lovely brands, international brands such as Victorinox, for example, or local brands, and all of the most beautiful Mexican brands were or had been working with us. But during COVID, we had to close the manufacturing company. We had all of our artisans that didn't have anything to do. All of our clients canceled our orders. And we are like, okay, what could we do to make sure we save a savoir-faire that might be the only luxury savoir-faire still existing in Mexico? And that's why I joined the company. I took over the commercial side and the marketing side along with some partners. And we created a fashion product studio, meaning that on top of being a manufacturing company, we were wondering, after some design thinking process, we interviewed more than 30 people from the industry. How could we be our own generators of orders, and how could we leverage what we know best, which is doing amazing product with an Italian quality and Italian excellence, because we've been basically trained by Cartier since 78.
Yeah,
and
I've seen some of your products, and it's like it's really impressive. You know, I think the level of quality as well as the level of design, creativity of some of the creation that you've shared with me was really impressive. But I think that's like something that's also impressive, and in some way we can kind of see this process all along your career. So you were saying just before how when you first you did your first steps in entrepreneurship. So at first you put together two worlds. You had like some content and some product, and that was your first the first company you created, like mixed together content and product. And here I feel like you're doing it again. You're mixing together two or maybe three areas that were very distinct prior to that. And those different industries are craftsmanship, savoir-faire, with your beautiful, like atelier that you put together in Mexico. You put it together with creativity, like fashion and design, in order to add some creativity to the manufacturing process. And on top of it, you've added a layer of influence and creators. And I think that's what makes your company, Artemio, really unique. So can you tell us a bit more about why do you think it makes sense to put together luxury craftsmanship, fashion design, and influencers all together?
First of all, I like the fact that you're able to see a link between the first thing I did when I was at school in 2012. Actually, for the anecdote, my master's thesis at Bocconi, after my first business school, I did the master's at Bocconi, was around the power of organic content into generating sales and organic sales. Because at the time we didn't have any paid media marketing, and we just had blogs and we had brands, and how we could like merge this world. And that's actually what we are doing right now. We realize that some stakeholders, which are digital talents with a high and engaged audience, are willing to create their own brands, but they have, all of them share the same pain points. What are the pain points? They don't have time, because obviously their main focus is generating digital content, and they're doing very well. They don't know how to do it, because they might not have any skills in product development. And then sometimes there's the investment part, because today, if you want to create a beautiful and luxury product, as you know, starting from the first sample, the costs are very high, and then the MOQ, the minimum order quantities, are even higher. So taking these three pain points, we realized that we could offer a solution with a manufacturing company able to create almost everything, a team of designers able to understand with a lot of humility what a content creator wants to do, and also this higher purpose to position all of those influencers that sometimes don't even accept that you call them influencers, which is interesting, because they don't, this influencer world, and the world of influencer is it can generate mixed feelings today, because sometimes we don't take them seriously, while those people maybe are the biggest workaholic that we know, because even on a Sunday morning in bed, they have to generate some content, while we usually just enjoy our pain au chocolat with our significant other.
Right.
So
let's build on that, because I think that's something that's going to interest the audience a lot, because all the luxury brands and the beauty brands today are working with influencers, or they would like to work more with influencer. We know how influencer can drive consideration, purchase intent, and how efficient are influencer-driven marketing campaigns. So, you know, you've worked with many influencers. You've been an influencer yourself when you had your previous company and you were, you know, like creating content, having a blog, and so on and so forth. So let us know, how is it like to work with influencers? Like, tell us, how do you select them? How do you approach them? So you're telling that they are sometimes workaholic and they have to create content 24/7. So how is it like to interact with those kind of people? Because I guess this is very different working with a few influencers worldwide versus working with some luxury brands, with people that are trained in marketing and went to the same kind of business schools as you did. So how is it to work with influencers, and what did you learn as you were like working more and more with those influencers? What are the main lessons and best practices you've gone through?
So first of all, to answer your question, I do believe today, and I'm not like a digital data crack and a data cruncher, but I do think that even though you can be the best in performance marketing, and today there's amazing tools from a lot of partners to build a marketing strategy, today the best way in our luxury industry and fashion industry to generate an audience, an organic audience, is through influencers. But at the same time, we cannot just expect influencers to work like a machine. You know, like doing an ad on Facebook Business. Okay, yeah, we will have the KPIs we want if we pay and if we are pretty agile in like posting the ad. In the case of influencer, we are talking to human. We are talking to very busy people, and we are talking to people that sometimes feel, I won't say they feel used by brands, because who am I to talk about the way brands work with them? But what I understood, and the way I work with them, I put myself as an investor and a partner to help them grow, while sometimes a brand only see them as a service provider. Obviously, their product is generating digital content and they have to follow the brief of a brand. But what I could say is that before thinking about the brief, think about the influencer and think about the way you will position himself and you will help them grow, because that's the best way. Because at the end of the day, the base business of the influencer, more than this post, is the overall quality of the content and the way the influencer we sometimes grow to over categories, over industry, and grow his fan base, not only on bags fans, but also men's, women's, older people, younger people. That's the way an influencer can today win in this very competitive industry, because anyone can be an influencer. So what I could say is that, first of all, understand the influencer, understand his audience, understand what are the areas of opportunities of this audience, and see if the collaboration you offer, in my case, is I'm going to create your brand. And actually, when I create an influencer brand, I'm not the owner of the brand. The influencer still is the owner of its own brand. I'm just the owner or co-owner of the product we developed together, along with the audience. Something I would say, my second advice is that today, an influencer is nothing without his audience. So for example, in my case, everything we do, we co-create it with the audience, because an influencer is just the face of the audience. And I think the best way to seduce the influencer and the audience is to make sure we offer something that will involve both of them. And that's why, in my case, offering the audience the right to be a consumer actor and not just a passive consumer, meaning that I want to be, as an influencer, I want to create my own brand, but this brand, I will do it for you, with you. It's the best way to create this organic engagement that will give you the best KPIs ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. And I think that in the mind of a lot of people in the industry, you know, they see those influencers sometimes as some kind of a diva, you know, people with strong personalities and who are not maybe the most professional people that you can think of, you know, like they follow their intuition, their creativity, they can be a bit hard to control, and so on and so forth. How do you manage, you know, to work with those highly creative people who might be a bit different from the people we usually work with in the business world? Have you like found some tips or some way to work in an efficient way?
First of all, as you said, sometimes we feel we are all marketers, and I came from L'Oreal and the L'Oreal school. We talk the same language, we drink the same the same drinks, and we sleep with the same people. Like we are in the same microcosm. While it's true that we are talking with very creative people that might have a different background and might have a different story. However, first of all, is respect the way they work, because if they are successful influencers, it means that some of the things they do it pretty well. But at the same time, you have to challenge them on making sure they deliver what you want. But how you can make sure they deliver what you want is making sure that what you expect from them is definitely something they embrace. Because at the end of the day, if something feels forced, if you have to fight with the influencer because you don't agree with what they said, it means that there is an issue on your side. The brief was not well done, and the brief was not well constructed or well co-created with the influencers. So long story short is, first of all, respect their expertise. They might be very different from you, and they might have a different language, and they might not even use emails and only talk through WhatsApp with voice notes. Fine. You might have to change a little bit, and they won't answer on Slack or on Trello, but they will deliver the job if you make sure that they embrace what you say and what you need, and feel that what you want them to do is definitely what they would have done, even though you won't pay for that.
Interesting. And I guess that some brands must be doing things right with those influencers, and some other brands must be, doing things really wrong with them and don't know how to handle and how to work with those influencers. As you're really one of the experts on this topic of working with an influencer in the context of luxury and fashion, what would be, in your opinion, the number one thing that luxury brand, fashion brand, beauty brand should do differently when they're working with those influencers?
What I would say, even though sometimes you see, I remember the launch of a Dior Montaigne bag recently, where all of the influencers shared exactly the same content at the same time. And from an awareness standpoint, that was pretty big, because all of my Instagram feed was full of the same bag. Great. I think it was a great awareness campaign. However, I do think that having the same content for all of the influencers at the same times make it irrelevant. I do think that you don't understand what an influencer will do if you don't, again, make sure that there is something unique between these influencers and your brand. So what I would say is that depending on your budget, you might have a big budget, works with the biggest influencer. You might have a smaller budget, work with the influencer and this nano micro influencer, but make sure first you create a loyalty with the influencers, meaning that the relationship won't be a one shot. And also make sure that the content you will work with them is totally unique, because sometimes it just feels that they all receive the same package, they all receive the same brief, and yes, it works from an awareness standpoint. I'm not sure from an engagement and then a conversion standpoint this will help, because it feels like out of home ads. I don't see a big difference between seeing a beautiful ad in the airport or seeing the same content on all of the biggest influencers on my feed.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe last thing I wanted to ask you, Remi, and just before that, I like to highlight something about you, and I'm thinking about it as you are speaking right now, is that almost 10 years ago, you created a company that was putting together content and products into a box. So already you had seen the trend of subscription boxes and subscription commerce. Then you worked on celebrity fragrances and beauty, when it was at the peak of its popularity in the industry. Now you're leveraging the trends of craftsmanship and influencers that are also very popular. So it seems like you seem to be always on the right trend, right before you were also mentioning the importance of authenticity. And I think personally that purpose-led branding and brands, that rely on causes and purpose will be more successful than the other brands. So you seem to be aware and to work with a lot of the trends in the industry. What would be another trend that you've seen recently that you might work with in the future or in the present, or just that you've observed as an observer of the industry? What would be an interesting trend you'd like to share with the audience? Something else that you've seen?
I don't know if I'm a trendsetter, but it's true that I do think that these trends that you have to take into account, but you have to feel it. For example, and I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I will give you a story about how I moved to working in a huge company where ethics might not be the focus, and where I had a chance when I was, selling my soul to pharmaceutical world. I had a chance to work with the first B Corp, the pharmaceutical company, B Corp. B Corp to me is the most rigorous certification today in terms of positive impact in the society and the environment. And actually it changed myself. Today I give classes about responsible marketing and meaningful brands and how I do things. And I'm convinced that if you're not a meaningful brand, you won't survive. What is a meaningful brand? And this, I use the definition defined by Havas, the publicity agency. A meaningful brand is a brand that has this positive impact on either the society or the environment, but out of its main purpose, meaning that if you you are a gardener, having a positive impact in the garden, it's actually your main purpose. So I won't say you are definitely a meaningful brand, but if you are a pharmaceutical company and you add a positive impact, you include communities, all of your packaging is biodegradable, you were not forced to do that because at the end of the day, to cure a disease, you don't have to do all these things, but it means that you want to be a meaningful brand. So long story short, I do think that today we know the fashion world has to change. We need to find a new way to ethically produce. We need to find a new way to include and to involve all the consumers. But also, I do think we need to find a way to really have a purpose that has a strong and real positive impact on the society and the environment. And I think that we cannot use that as a marketing tool. We cannot be opportunistic with that. But if we want to be successful, any brands from any side, from any industry, talking about, I don't know, either like a law firm or a company that sells point of sales materials, we need to find a way to reinvent ourselves. And I would say we need to find a way to be a B Corp. So for me, my tip, everyone should try to be a B Corp. And actually, the evaluation, which is called the impact evaluation, that also used today the UN for the 17 objective of sustainability, the ODS. I don't remember exactly what was the translation in English. This evaluation is totally free. So everyone and every company should measure the amount of points we have in terms of positive impact in the society and environment. Because I do think that in a few years or maybe in the next decades, most likely B Corps will be the biggest, the most successful company.
Yeah, I feel like the role of a brand is evolving. Back in the days, maybe a few years or decades ago, brands just had to create products, put them in nice shops or at nice retailers, and then that was their jobs. Then after a few years, there's with the emergence of social networks and platforms, we asked more from brands. We asked brands to create some content. So now we asked Louis Vuitton, Burberry, and L'Oréal to create videos and tweets and images on Instagram and boomerangs and so on and so forth. And maybe this third wave is that we're going to ask even more to the brands. On top of products and content, we're also asking some values, some purpose. We're asking some tough questions, the why are you doing this? What is behind the scene? And I think I agree with you. I think this is definitely a big trend. And you know what, Remi, I think you should come back in 2021 on What the Luxe, and you should have another conversation about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I would love to do that. And I do think, it sounds like a religion, but I do think that business should be a force of good. We should not wait for religion or for political people to help us save our planet and save ourselves and save our communities. No, I think us as businessmen should be the strongest force for good.
Yeah, interesting. You know what comes to my mind when you say that?
No.
What the Luxe?
What the Luxe?
What the actual Luxe? Okay, well, thank you very much, Remi, for your time. It was great to learn more about your background and more about what Artemio does. I wish you all the best for Artemio and see you very soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's it for today's episode of What the Luxe. As usual, if you've liked it, feel free to share it with a friend. And if you hated it, well, share it with an enemy.